Yo, what is up? Today we are going to be doing a Hallowed Sepulchre guide. Um, I think this is going to be more of a ramble on how I think about Sepulchre, more so than a well-edited, concise guide. But I hope what it can do is help people um, become better at SEP. Um, I think I won't be covering all the basic stuff. Please watch Keybox's uh, beginner to intermediate guide, I suppose. That will cover all the basic solves, plugins, etc. I think I will be mainly looking at some of the more important mechanics, skips, and ways I go about solving the obstacles per se. I think I'll also look at some additional stuff like some of the really RNG skips, kind of like looking at the rarity or what's required for those, and maybe some like multi-skilling shit or just, I don't know, in-depth notes that may not be covered elsewhere. So yeah. So the first thing I wanted to briefly cover before getting into the actual flaws themselves is the obstacles. Now I think this isn't something you need to really consciously think about, but I think it is a good to know, and maybe it will help to understand why some things are possible in the solves, I guess. Um, so the obstacles all have three different versions, um, and they are different colors based on the versions. So there's regular, gold, and ornate, I believe. Um, and so, as most people know, like the flames on floor 5 SEP are one tick quicker than the rest of the floors. But this also does apply to other obstacles. Um, so for example, the lightning on floor 5 is one tick quicker than on floor 4. The swords, there are three different swords. The blue ones move 4 ticks per tile, or 4 tiles per tick. The, I think, gold ones move 3 tiles per tick, and the white ones move 2 tiles per tick. I think that one's pretty well known. Then, yeah, with the flames, the ones on floor 5 are one tick quicker, so they have 5 ticks of downtime and 2 ticks of uptime, whereas the ones on floor 4 or floor 1 to 4 have 5 ticks of downtime and 3 ticks of uptime. I think this is kind of important in terms of, I guess, just knowing that it's 5 ticks and that you can go 10 tiles will help with certain scenarios. There have been certain people who have, not realized that on certain obstacles you can make it through the flames in one go. So I think that's also important to cover. And then the darts. So this one I actually didn't really know. I think it's until like yesterday. It's very, or it's kind of intuitive, but really there are three different types of darts. The darts on floor 1 and 2 are white, and they move 3 tiles per tick. The darts on floors, for most of floors 3 and, or for all of floor 3 and most of floor 4 are, also I think it's blue for the first one, and then white for floors 3 and 4. They move also 3 tiles per tick. And then there's a third type of dart, which is gold, and that happens on the last obstacle on both floor 4 sides, which is why they're typically, I think floor 4 south, the final obstacle is quite annoying for that reason, because the darts move faster. And then on floor 5, they're also the fast darts, and they move 4 tiles per tick. As you can see here, very fast darts. And this kind of changes the way you can dodge them efficiently. Because sometimes it feels like the darts shouldn't have hit you, but they do. And that's just because they are moving faster. And then, yes, the teleports. The teleports are very interesting. So the way the teleports work is they are on a 6-tick cycle. For 4 ticks, they are active. So from ticks 1 to 4. On tick 5, there is a small chance that it will be able to teleport you, and then tick 6, it will be down. So the floor 5 blue, or I mean yellow, I guess it could also be yellow, that kind of happens, if anyone's familiar with like scuffed crabs at Maiden, basically there's an overflow of the ID, which changes the PID value, and so the teleport will actually be able to teleport you on tick 5 as well. If this happens, every teleport on the floor will be able to teleport you on tick 5. I'll show a clip after this. But this is kind of useful when doing certain skips. Like sometimes you may as well path onto a teleport, even if you feel like it will go down. Intuitively, the kind of 4 ticks of availability it is like you'll get a feel for it, but just knowing that the 5th tick teleport exists, I think can it's quite, I think it'd be like, I don't know, it's hard to tell, but maybe like 1 in every 10 laps or something it might happen on the floor. I really have no idea. But yeah, so yeah, just knowing that exists I think can help with some of the skips and pathing. I think just to clarify one thing, actually, it might not be every teleport on the floor. It will only be probably, I think, anyone that has overflown its ID. But any teleport, like if it happens once, every teleport in the floor after that will or should have a higher ID, then should also teleport you. And also, one thing is that the blues have, so some blues are static and that they're on a completely repeating 6-tick cycle. So it's 6 ticks, it's up for 4, down for 2, and then instantly repeats. Whereas some other blues they have the 6-tick cycle and they have a random amount of delay between the next cycle starting. This delay is longer on earlier floors. So if you think to floor 2 west, the teleports are almost never up. So I think the delay it can be like 20 to 30 ticks, or it can be up to 20 to 30 ticks or something sometimes. It's very, very long. Whereas on like floors 4 and 5, I don't think it's ever really more than 10, maybe 12. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, it's hard to kind of fully tell without just sitting there for hours. But I think that's important to know. I think that's also something you get a feel of. Like the start of floor 5, you always path onto the same blue and it's always there. But then you just don't have that for like a few other teleports. Like on floor 5 or floor 4, there's no or floor 4 north, there's no like consistent teleport or pattern that you can take. So yeah, here's a clip of floor 5. Yeah, as mentioned at the start or during like this sword section, the blues have no delay between them, and so this is you can kind of like you always make the timing. Whereas downstairs, all these teleports here are not static, so they always have like a random gap that's between like 0 to, I don't know, 12 ticks ish. And here is a clip of what would normally happen for a 4-tick tele. So you can see I path here onto the blue on the 5th tick and I do not get teleported. For this example though, you can see I path on the blue on the 5th tick and it does actually teleport me. So as mentioned before, I kind of go back and I try to step on the teleport again on the 5th tick, and it will continue to teleport me. I will also go to the other obstacles on the other side and show that that also works there for the same floor. So where this is useful is mostly just like the end of floor 4. So it's pretty common, unless you get very lucky on the teleports and the darts, that you will not be able to make the cycle in time, because that's one of the blues that are on a static cycle. But so you should always be pathing onto the blue that is, I guess, active, even if you don't expect it to be awake. Like if you expect to path to it onto tick 5, you should still always path to it rather than another one, just because you have that small chance of teleporting onto it. And another application for the tick 5 teleport is like avoiding like a tick 5 yellow. So in some examples, such as floor 4 north, it's probably not worth pathing onto a teleport that will expire on tick 5, just because there is like quite a bit of leeway in order to make that skip. Whereas if you do get teleported on that off chance, you will be a lot less likely to make it, unless you get like more blues back. But most of the time, it will be worth passing on to a yellow that expires on tick 5, just because most of the time it's important that you're always moving 2 tiles a tick. You're never like delaying, because making a skip is a lot more important than the off chance of getting teleported backwards. If waiting, the tick would make you fail the skip regardless. So yeah. And then just a note on like the blue teleport like length. So the teleports are different lengths based on different floors, but also individual obstacles. So I think for the most part, floor 1 and 2 teleports are 3 to 4 tiles. Floor 3 are 3 to 5, and floor 4s and 5 are 4 to 6. But there are some obstacles, such as this one here, floor 4 north, that have longer teleports. I believe it's 6 to 8. The end of floor 4 north is 4 to 8. And I think there are some other ones, such as, I think the start of floor 5 might be a little bit longer. I'm not 100% sure. And I think there are probably some other teleports that are also shorter or longer, but it's not really too important to know exactly how long the teleports are. It's more for calculating like the odds of getting like a, say, a 119.2 floor 4 north, or even a toad skip or whatever. So it's not something you have to be conscious about. And then finally, I just wanted to kind of explain how the darts work. Also, not something you really need to know, because you'll kind of pick it up intuitively, or you can just like know which skips you can make. But I think it might be useful. Like I didn't use this knowledge. I need kind of explored this like the last few days. But in terms of explaining why a skip might work, I think it might be useful. So this is, I guess, a chart of the darts. So the green tile, so I guess the dart is moving from the top of the screen to the bottom. The green tile is the dart's true tile, and the red tiles are the tiles that it checks for your player location. So a dart moving, so this is a dart that will move 3 tiles per tick. The ones that move 4 tiles per tick have an extra range behind them, so it'll be 1 tile ahead and 3 tiles behind. And the darts check your true tile, as well as the middle tile that it expects your player would have passed through if you run. And this is to avoid being able to run through the darts. But there are some weird interactions with this. For example, you can run perpendicularly through darts. So if your player was, I guess, here, and then you run here, your true tile will be on the green tile. But so if you run perpendicularly without an L movement, it won't check your middle tile. So this allows you to skip over a dart. And so this is useful on, say, the start of floor 3 east, but I'll explain that. Additionally, you can also skip over a corner. I'll also show that happens on like floor 4 and stuff. But this is because I might be explaining this incorrectly, but RuneScript can't tell where your middle tile is, or the path that you actually took. So even if you went, I guess, here, and then you skip over here, your middle tile that you actually pathed on was this red tile. But it doesn't know that. All RuneScript sees is you moving from here to here. So even if there's a obstacle that forces you to go over a corner, it thinks you've just walked diagonally rather than running over a corner. So it doesn't check, like there's no middle tile for it to check. So yeah, on floor 4 south and floor 2 south, you can use that to skip over darts. So it's, I think, very useful to know. You don't have to know why it works. But yeah. And so that's why, like, if you are here and you move L movements, so you move from here to here, your middle tile that it will check will be here, that red tile. So that's why it, like, a backwards L will hit you, and also a forwards L. Like if you move here, it checks your true tile. So floor 4 north, the start, or the just after the long flames, there's a bit where you're in a corner here, and you can't path to this tile. You have to move directly perpendicularly across to avoid being hit by the middle tile if you're pathing. All right, for floor 1 southeast, the end dart obstacle actually has a bit of a niche solve per se, in that I think a lot of people will do it incorrectly, including me, for the entirety of 200 mil. It was only in recording this video that I actually realized that the way I was doing it, I was missing a tick like 1 in 9 times, and it always felt wrong, but I never bothered to actually look at it until now. And so if you do look back at old footage, do not use my floor 1 method, but really how you should do it is when you start, if the dart is not coming down the first column, so this one here, you just want to path straight away to this corner tile, and then no matter what the dart is, the next one, you can just click the exit, and that'll look like this. And so this way, even if you do get this final exit dart, you won't have to manually dodge it, and you will get, because you'll be able to just skip around the corner. Yeah, you don't have to manually path this corner tile like I do. That was just my habit. If you just, from any tile before that, just path under this tile, it'll be fine. And then when you do get the dart coming down the first row, you will manually path to this tile. If you start in the middle here, you can just click this tile, but for me, I like to just out of habit go to this corner and then path this tile, and then you'll have to dodge the darts at the end. Some people prefer to go straight to the right column and then dodge based on if there's no dart there, but in this clip I run down the middle column and to react it's not coming down. Either way is fine, but it just depends on what you find easier. And that will look like this. And then unfortunately, if you do get the first row and then the third row, you will lose 1 tick. Here's what it looks like when you get the first row darts, but not the third one. Another thing I want to mention about floor 1 is on the southwest floor. So previously I thought, and I feel like everyone thought, if you miss a tick here, like if you're multi-clicking and you lose a tick, you'll either get hit by swords, you have to wait a bunch of time. But thanks to Turnt showing me, I think Wizard found this. I'm not 100% sure though. But you can actually get around this by walking 1 tick. So you walk a tile here, and what that does is that basically puts you like outside, just outside the true tile. So that the true tile of the sword is like just in front of you. So if you ran, it would hit you. But then you can skip around the corner here, similar to the sword on the southeast floor. So this saves you having to wait for like fucking 10 seconds. And then the finish is also the same speed because you end up running to the, you run 2 tiles. So I think it should be the same speed. Or maybe it's like one tick slower, but not 2. Yeah. So next I wanted to cover floor 2 north. So first you path to the tile marked. This will save you, like when you jump onto the pads, if you are like directly in line with it, it will be very quick. Whereas if you're like on another tile, like especially if you're like right next to it but adjacent, it takes fucking forever to get across. So path there, jump over the obstacles, dodge the darts. If you don't get this one first, you will be able to get ahead of the sword. But if you do get this first dart, you'll have to go behind the sword. So as so. And then the important thing about this, the downstairs of this part, is that you should path over the yellow tiles. Because if you are behind the sword, you won't make the second part of the flames in time if you don't path over the yellows. So path onto the blue, and then onto these yellows, onto those yellows, and then onto the blue. And that will secure you the furthest distance into the flame. And so as mentioned before, the earlier floors have like, because these blues aren't static, so the earlier floors have a lower chance of these teleporting you. Because if you get hit by one, you'll lose a couple ticks, but that's like pretty rare. Whereas otherwise you'll lose like 2 ticks every time if you avoid pathing on them. If you are ahead of the sword, you can, or you should manually delay or like walk tiles so that you only path on the blues, and that's because you're like a couple of ticks ahead anyway. And getting a blue teleport, you can't like fully skip the obstacle. So you have like a couple ticks you can lose by walking to avoid 100% of the time getting teleported by yellows, but always making it to this tile here. And then make sure you line yourself up with the platform to again save a tick here. And here is a clip of me being able to skip. Or being able to get in front of the sword. So again, go over here. You can skip around, and again on this spot here, even if you the statue, the final one lights up, if you manually path, you will again skip around a corner, and this will dodge the dart for you. And then when you go downstairs, you will avoid the yellow tiles as shown. And again, you'll be able to pass through the same tile and finish off. So I actually want to clarify something that I literally just realized in the previous clip. So you don't actually skip over a corner here. So if you look at my character's tile, it is the blue tile. It's one to the right of the highlighted tile. And then on the next tick, it is here. So I've actually run an L movement. So what's actually happening is I've actually just run through a dart. Now, the reason this is cool is because I think that was something I didn't explain before. So with the darts, when they shoot, on the first tick they shoot, they actually travel an extra tile. You can't really see this without a true tile marker. But the true tile of the dart on this tile is so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's this row here. Oh, you can't see my mouse. So it's this row here. So the dart on this tick is this row here. So that means it will check this tile and then this tile. So these are the two ones it checks. Now it's not checking either of these tiles. And because it's not checking let me think, because you're pathing here. I don't know how the engine actually is deciding what your middle tile is. But I think what's happening, and now I'm actually not 100% sure, but there will be something later in the video. But when it shoots this tick faster speed, it doesn't actually have an extra like delay, or an extra, sorry, I'm making words up, an extra tile that it checks here. So when it's on this tile, so it's moved 4 tiles, but it still only checks these ones here. It doesn't check an additional one here, even though it's moved an additional tile in that tick. And so what that means is, I think what's happening in this scenario, as you can skip over the corner, but maybe I may as well just show it now, is you can actually skip over a darts by taking advantage of this. So here is an example of that. So in this clip, the darts are about to fire. So on this tick, the statues are checking one tile in front of the dart, which is these tiles here. And then the tick after, the dart moves 4 tiles. So the dart moves to 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the true tile of the dart will be here, and it will check these 2 rows. But what you can do is you can walk over it like this, because the dart isn't actually checking this extra tile. So it's moved 4 tiles in the one tick, but unlike a normal dart moving that, it checks only 2 tiles behind it and not 3. So when it shoots, you can actually skip over a dart, which I think is really interesting. But it's not useful because you can't. You're never really trying to like walk. Or, yeah, it's not really useful. But I think in the previous clip, I think that's what's happening, is because you can actually, because to run through a dart, you would have to run from the tile I started on onto the statues, and I think because I'm running like next to the statues, I think you're running through a dart, which is, if that's actually what's happening, it's very cool. And then nothing really important for floor 2 east, but I just did want to show that when the dart is on the exit 1, you can walk diagonally to skip the dart. So make sure you aren't like trying to dodge here or whatever. And for floor 2 west, just one main thing to point out is you can actually save a tick on this floor sometimes. You need a 4 tile teleport on one of the first 2 ones here. The blues can teleport you between 3 and 4 tiles on floor 1 to 2, which I think I didn't mention, but hopefully I put a text correction over, and that will allow you to get through to the middle tile of these flames, and then you'll be able to run around this pillar and to this tile here, and that will save you 1 tick when that happens, and I will show a clip of that after this. So here's an example of that. So basically what you need is a 4 tile teleport on either of the first teleports. So I'd say 1 and 2 chance, because it can be 3 or 4 tiles, and that will get you to the middle tile of the flames. And then when you go down the stairs, you simply run around the side, and then click to the march tile, and it will be 1 tick quicker. $39.0. Floor 2 south, there is also a bit of nuance in order to make it tick perfect 100% of the time. So as usual, make sure you stand on this tile, not on the yellows. You don't want to be waiting on the yellows, because that just gives it additional time to teleport you. And you can react to either of the 2 marked yellow tiles in order to make it tick perfect. When you go down the stairs, you want to run around the corner and directly ahead like this. I'll explain what happens if there's another dart later on. Then move to the left side, path manually to this tile, and then jump over the landing. So as mentioned before, if you are like directly in line with the landing, you will jump over a tick quicker. And so by manually pathing to the marked tile here, you will be able to save a tick here. So now I'm going to show what happens when you get the bad darts in both scenarios, at the start and at the end. So when you go down the corner, if you get darts ahead of you, you want to move diagonally forward and to the left 2 tiles. So that will look like this. You have 1 tick to react to this. So you go ahead and then path to this marked tile, and this will dodge the darts. And then for the final one, if you get darts in the left row, you will path around the corner like this. So instead of manually pathing to this tile, you'll just path to around the corner, and that will skip the dart. Again, taking use of the skipping around the corner. What you can do is, when you start, always just, so once you've moved to the left row, just path this tile and then manually react to this one, and that will be a little bit safer. But I don't think I really do it in the clip, because it's not too difficult to just react. So floor 3 west isn't too difficult. There's not much to talk about. I will just cover how I go about the start, because people can do this a few different ways. So my method is to always path to this row here. If the opening is on the furthest row, it will take you an extra tick, and your solve for the next dart will be different. But if the opening is either of the first 2 rows, I think it's easier, because the solve for the second dart is skipping over the corner. So path to that middle row, and then move over to this corner tile, and then you'll be able to skip the dart. Or skip over the corner to skip the second dart, rather than having to react to that. And then you'll also get a little bit of time, I don't know, to do whatever here. And then this is just showing what happens when the dart is in the furthest row. So you'll have a tick to react. You can path to the furthest row and then just dodge on kind of this row here. You should be walking rather than running to dodge, because that makes it significantly easier. So that's why I have that tile marked there. And then you can just run, and you'll be plenty in time for the next obstacle. And then covering the next obstacle, make sure you path over as many blues as you can, so you can lose some time. You don't need the teleports, but it's more to avoid being pathed over the yellows. You can skip over the corner to get ahead of these darts here. You don't actually have to, because you'll have enough time either way. and then dodge these darts, and then go past the flying sword, and then coming down here, it will always, I mean, you shouldn't ever really have a different time, but one thing I want to get people in the habit of, because it pisses me off, is don't go to this row here. You can, but don't go to it. Always go to this row here. Now what this does is in the next part, at the end, so this tile marked here, you have to manually path this tile when the darts are, or when the gap in the darts is in the middle. You'll path this tile without losing ticks, and then you'll go to here. But you have to manually path if you walk that extra tick or that extra tile into flames. So if you start here, even if you're in the middle row, you'll end up here. You have to manually walk here. Whereas if you start here and you go to the middle row here, you can just click here and that will path you over this tile and then do the dart skip for you. There's no reason not to do this because the amount of time it takes to finish is the same either way. Because if you're on this tile, you'll run 2 tiles over the final obstacle. If you're a tick further into the flames, you'll walk that tile. So sure, you'll be a tick further in, but it takes a tile further in, but it takes the same amount of time to do it no matter what. So there's no reason not to go there. It also just makes it more consistent. You path on the same tiles every time. I really hate seeing people, because that's how everyone learns. They all manually path this tile. Just don't go that extra tile into the flames. There's no reason to. It's pretty stupid. So yeah, anyway. So I'm just going to show what it looks like when you get the middle dart doing this method. So come down as normal, skip the darts, then you can react and pass through the middle here, and then you just click the exit, and it will automatically skip the darts for you. No manual pathing, no attention required. Very easy. Alright, floor 3 is where it starts to, or floor 3 east is where it starts to get pretty interesting. So I think I'll just pause here. So when you start the floor, you should path to the tile I go to here. You can go 1 tile further, but if you do, you have to manually path around the sword. So there's no real point in doing that. And then after this, you just path to the corner tile as so. And then starting this next obstacle, there's 3 different ways the darts can go that affects like how you do this part pretty significantly. So the gap can either be left, middle, or right. In this example, it's left. And I'll go over each one individually. But so what you can have to know is where the darts are affect, 1, how far by default you will get into the sword skip without any walked tiles or any teleports. And also kind of which tiles you have to dodge the darts on. So having the missing dart on the left is by far the best. It gives you a pretty significant chance at a 51 second, and it's almost certain at least a 54 second, so long as you don't get a yellow teleport. So what you do is you path around the corner. So you can either path this corner or just directly path here. You'll get to the same tile. And then you'll be dodging the darts on the 3rd row of every teleport. So the way the teleports are is that it's 3 tiles of teleports and then 3 tiles of nothing. And because the darts move 3 tiles per tick and you move 2 tiles per tick, it ends up such that every 6 tiles you dodge the darts on the same row. So because you're on the left, that's actually really good because on all the first rows, there's a blue tile. So you can path to every single blue tile on the first row, no matter what, if you get this rotation, I guess. And then you always dodge the darts on the 3rd row. And so an example will look like this. Yep, so there I pathed over every first blue tile and then dodged the darts on the third row. There is one small, a very, very minor thing you can do, is that if the darts for like either of these two ones or the gap is in the middle, you can actually path to the blue tile in the middle. And so this will avoid you stepping on a yellow and not affect your chance of getting a sword skip, because on this rotation, whether you walk one tile or not, you will have the same chance of getting all the skips later on. This isn't the case if you get a teleport, because that will ult everything, but if you don't get a teleport, this will slightly reduce your chance of spawning or teleport on a yellow as it spawns. And I'll have an example of that after. So again, just pathing on the first row of blues, dodging on the third row of teleports, and then here I path to that middle blue, and that avoids me having to potentially step on a yellow teleport. It's pretty minor because most of the time the teleports are either down or up on another row, and I probably didn't even do that intentionally, but that is a very small nice to know, but definitely not so important. And here's a clip of the ultra mega darts pathing where you get to step on every single blue only. It's very rare. I think it's like 1 in 3 to the power 5, floor 3 easts. So yeah, not too common, but it always feels good when you get it. And thank you, Azula, for the clip. And so the next rotation is when you get the gap in the middle. And so when you start this, you'll path again to the corner and then to this middle tile. And so what that'll do is it'll put you one tile behind the first rotation. So what that means is you'll be dodging the darts on the middle row. And you will also, by default, without walking any tiles or getting teleported, you'll be one tile ahead of the sword skip, which gives you a 2 in 3 chance of getting a 51 second versus a 54 second. So it's very important that you always are running 2 tiles. In the first rotation, you kind of have that leniency because you're 2 tiles ahead. You will be walking 1 tile at the end anyway, so at the same time as being 1 tile ahead. So you can have the leniency to walk, but this one, it's very important that you path on. Obviously, don't path on active yellows, but pathing on yellows here is very important to be able to make the skip. So yeah, I'll just show what that looks like. And here's another example of that same rotation. And so here, I did have to walk 1 tile to avoid that yellow teleport, but this will still put me, I will still make the sword skip, and I'll have a 100% chance of getting a 54 second lap. And then here's a third example of that. And then the third rotation is when the gap is in the right row. This one is by far the worst because by default you can only make a 54 second skip unless you get a blue teleport, and there's absolutely no way, no leeway for even walking, else you will just completely fail and get 1 minute 1. So what that looks like is you will path to the corner, and then you'll wait 1 tick, and then corner skip over the darts. And then you'll have to be dodging the darts on this row. So unfortunately, like the first rotation, you can't always path on the blue. you will only be pathing on whichever teleport on the first row of the teleport sections is open. And this will look like this. And here is another example of that rotation. And here's a third example. And so the section, or this next section for the sword skip, it's very important to know how far ahead of the sword skip you are. So by default, you'll be either 2, 1, or 0 tiles ahead of the sword skip, and that will change how you start the downstairs part. But if you do get a teleport and you are either 3, 4, or 5 or 6 tiles ahead, that will give you more options. The way to know is either just by knowing the rotations of your head, or if you do get a teleport, you can kind of base off some like what the darts do. So as long as you path onto this row here when the darts fire, alternatively being on this tile when the sword stops moving, is the cutoff for the sword skip. But I think the best way to know is to wait until you get past the sword here, and how many tiles ahead of this point you are, if you are uncertain, is a good indicator. If you do fail, it's fine because you will just make it back in time for the 101. So firstly, I'm going to show what it looks like when you do get 0 tiles ahead of the sword skip, so you get the perfect exact amount. This will always be 54 seconds. So you come down, the darts will always be ahead, and then you just run to this spot here. I have a missing tile marked for that. And then you run to this next row. And then to finish off, so here I will path to this tile to avoid the darts, but if you're on this row, you actually don't need to be in the, I guess, the column where the gap in the darts is. You will you're already faster than the darts. So for example, if the gap is in the middle, you can still go on either side. You don't want to go in the middle, I think that paths you over it, but just go on either side, and that will, you'll be safe. So if you are 1 or 2 tiles ahead of the sword skip, such as default for left gap or middle gap, you will have the same start to the next row. If you are 3 or 4 tiles ahead, it's the same as 1 or 2, but you just wait 1 tick before you start, because you can like get the same time in a slightly different way by doing that, but the overall and ending time in all scenarios is the same. So here you can see I am 2 tiles past when the sword starts moving, and then I will walk this last tile here. So that's why being 1 tile behind is the same time. So when you get down here, you'll notice the darts are coming, or they're like already on the screen. So unfortunately, you have a 1 in 3 chance of getting a 54 second, and that's in this scenario where the gap in the darts is the furthest away. So unfortunately, I won't be able to go here. If the gap is on the left, you can just run straight through. And if the gap is in the middle, you'll run to the middle tile and run straight through. This one looks a bit jank, because it kind of looks like you're running through a dart. But you either run to this tile or this tile, and then just run straight through, and you'll make it to this row when the flames start. But this row is where the flame is, so you'll just make it through. And then if you are 3 or 4 tiles ahead, you will just wait 1 tile here, and then do the same thing as if you were only 1 or 2 tiles ahead. And here you can see I will make it in front of the art by just being the same row. And then here's an example of a 51 second being one tile ahead. And then you would just get to the middle and finish as normal. And so here's a clip of the Finchy skip where the gap is in the middle and you are 1 or 2 tiles ahead. So here you just click to the middle tile and then run straight through. And then here's a final clip for when you are 5 or 6 tiles ahead. This is pretty unlikely. Usually it requires, I think, at least, or maybe one max teleport works. But here you just path to the first route instantly, and then you wait 1 tick / dodge the darts. So even if you do get the gap here, you can just path and then move over and move forward. You do have to wait 1 tick, otherwise you will just run into the flames though. And this will 100% of the time, if you do it correctly, be a 51 second run. So Floor 4 South is typically seen as pretty easy, but there are a few things you can do to improve it. Yeah, so path through the flames, path through the lightning, you'll skip it all automatically if you're tick perfect. And then you should path to this highlighted blue tile. The reason is because, so a lot of people usually path the 1, 2 tiles south, but pathing to the one I do is a tick quicker, which doesn't actually matter if you aren't looting the bridge, but I think it's less punishing if you make mistakes. So I think you just should, regardless. There's no reason not to. So you run out on the same tick as the sword goes, and that puts you right behind the sword. And then you want to click to this row here. So any of the darts are kind of in the way. Any of the tiles on this row here, you will run to, and will be safe from the darts, no matter how you path. And then you just run down like normal, and then you will be able to exit. You won't have to manually path to this corner tile to exit. You can just run straight over. If you do lose a tick, you can still skip the darts by running over the corner by pathing here. But yeah. So then you just run down to this next bit. You will just be 1 tick ahead of the other method, so you just have to wait an extra tick for the sword skip here. But coming down, you want to path to the corner, and then to 1 tick ahead of the blue tile here. And then you want to path on the teleport on tick 4, or the last tick that it can teleport you on, excluding tick 5 teleports, because there's no reason to play for that. It doesn't do anything. This is if you path on tick 1, 2, or 3, you won't be able to, or you will just get hit by the sword. So you go 1, 2, 3, teleport, and then no matter how far you get teleported here, you will always be immune to the sword. And then path on the next row of teleports here, and then run around. If the first blue teleport doesn't teleport you, there's another chance that when the teleport goes around again, it will spawn blue again and teleport you forward. So there's a 1 in 3 chance of getting the first blue, and then a 2 in 9 chance of getting the next blue, because you can't get the second blue if you get the first blue. And then see overall you have a 4 in 9 chance of not getting either blue. Then here is a clip of what it looks like when you get the second blue. If the first one doesn't line up, you go on the same tick, and then the blue will spawn and instantly teleport you. And then again, you can take the next row of blues. And then here's what it looks like when you get neither teleport. So instead, just manually path to avoid the yellow teleports, path over the blue, and then take the blue on this row again. And then coming around to this next section. So this next section is one of the most difficult bits about Sep to get tick perfect, but it gives you the least amount of time save for being perfect. So really, the way I think, or I thought about doing it is try to find a consistent approach that even if maybe on some certain scenario you maybe you lose a tile or whatever. I think that's less important than being consistent with this one, because this one, because on this obstacle, the darts, this is the first one where the darts move 4 tiles per tick. So it's very easy to get hit by the darts. So I have 2 tiles marked here. So the first one is this corner tile. So usually if the darts are coming down, I will move to this tile and then move to this tile. But if there's no darts, you can just run straight through. So what I'll do here is like that, and then I move onto this row of blues. If you do go through to this tile, usually I just walk onto this row of blues anyway, because then you go to another row of mostly blues and you skip over yellows. In general, it's hard to say whether it's worth stepping on yellows, but I think generally it's worth walking a tile here, because there's no like flames that are reliant on it, or that there's no skip where losing a single tile will make you lose the skip. So generally, I think it's better to try to path on as many blues as you can. So what that kind of looks like is I'll path on that blue. I do get a teleport here, but if you don't get a teleport, I path to these blues, and then here, and then I'll walk this tile and then path on to these blues here. But this one, I just go straight to this one, that blue, and then if you get a run down the middle, you're laughing. But if not, you'll probably have to path on a yellow here. So here I luckily get a blue and skip this final section. But if you don't, you'll want to path onto this, again, this row of blues at the end here. And then you can path onto this tile here and then skip around the corner over a dart, which happens pretty frequently. So I'll show a few more examples of running down the blue just after. But then here, if you go here, this blue, this yellow, here, you'll automatically skip over the yellows, and have to walk a tile to get onto the blues. So that's kind of what I'm saying about, like, if you come out of here and then instead of stepping on these blues because you're here, instead of walking a tile, you then walk here, and you walk here, then you walk here, and then you'll have to path on the yellows, but you'll save a tile from walking. So I think like playing around that's probably not worth it, because a lot of the time the blues are down anyway for like 2 or 6 ticks. So yeah, it's like I feel like the consistent approach and stepping on blues to dodge more yellows, because like if you get a blue teleport, you like here you automatically dodge this whole section. But I think if you do want to manually look at the darts, look at where the yellows are, or can I run 2 tiles forward onto a yellow that's not active, maybe that might be slightly better if you're perfect, but I think the consistency for me is more important, rather than having to react to every little small thing and a mistake costing you heaps. Because even if you are perfect, I think it might save you like less. It's definitely less than 1 tick per run, whatever I would say. Yeah, so generally I think pathing on the blues, even if you have to walk a tile, is worth it. Okay, so here's another example. This obstacle. You can see there will be no dart in here. So I can just skip around this corner here, and then I will manually path to the blue. The blue does light up this tick, but it's on this one. So I guess that is something to keep in mind is if you are gonna try and run as much as possible, look when the blues might be spawning. and then path the next blue forward. I do get teleported here, but normally I would path from here to the middle. I'll walk a tile and onto this blue, but I do get teleported in front of darts, so I do go on the blue to dodge. And then here, I could have gone onto the blue, walked a tile onto this blue here. That probably would have been a little bit better. But again, these reactions, very quickly to the darts and being teleported and stuff it's all very hard. Maybe that would have been a little bit more optimal. But yeah, that's why this is so hard. Is because of that. But then I dodge the dart onto this corner and then skip over the corner as before. So floor 4 north is typically a very frustrating floor. But realistically, the floor is actually very easy. And so if you just watch this clip, you'll see why. So really, like, I'm not sure why people complain about this floor. The skip is basically 100% guaranteed if you're just good. So yeah, thank you Azula for showing off to the people how to do this floor. So floor 4 north is one of the hardest floors in Sep, but it's also one, it's very frustrating because the skip saves you so much time and it can feel so RNG. But realistically, I think if you get really good at it, you can expect to achieve the skip on average like 80% of the time. Maybe 70 to 80%. I don't know. I know I had like one 6-hour I did where I failed the skip once, and then the next few after that I failed like 2 or 3 times or something. So it's like maybe it is like 80% of the time you can get the skip. But yeah, I wanna go over how I kind of approach this in order to I guess yeah show how I do it. So starting out, you will obviously take this teleport, skip the sword, and then one thing just as a side note, something I don't do is look at where I teleport. So if you get teleported to this middle tile, and then this is your starting tile, which is what I usually go to, you will walk a tile, and in effect losing you half a tick. Additionally, you lose the ability to have more room to dodge these yellows. But I think for the sake of consistency, this isn't generally worth doing. If you wanted to really 100% min-max everything, I think changing how you start, like, I guess this little bit of floor 4, you would change it back once you get to this next obstacle. But yeah, I think the consistency of just always pathing to this row is really important, even if sometimes you do lose a tile. Because depending on where the darts are, if you choose to maybe try and path a tile ahead, you might have to like change how you path. But no matter where the darts are, if you just always path to this row, no matter where you get teleported, always path to this row, you will dodge the darts automatically. So this is where you should be starting. So what's going to happen is you are now on like I guess an even row. So if you keep pathing 2 tiles per tick, you should go into this row, then this row, and then this row with 2 blues, this row with 2 blues, this row with nothing, yellows, nothing, and then this row with 3 blues. So you can kind of see how being on this tile will path you over a ton of blues. Whereas if you were here, you'll path into yellows, nothing, yellows, nothing, yellows, nothing, and there's only 1 blue. So you miss so many more blues if you're on that like odd tile. So starting here is really important. And if you do have to, say if this yellow is highlighted and you have to walk to this tile, then here you will again want to walk another tile just so you can get onto this row. Obviously assuming this one wasn't highlighted or whatever. Yeah, being on like this even set of tiles is very important. I see. Yeah, then you're going to path onto the blues here. There's a very important, I guess, skip of the darts here that I will show you later. But for now, just pathing onto the blues, pathing 2 tiles per tick. Here, I path into this yellow because I know it's going to disappear. If you did get a tick 5 yellow, that would teleport you back. But it's generally, I mean, it's worth risking having a tick 5 yellow because it's not very common. And I do walk a tile here, and we've got a very fuzzy video. But I quickly fix it and path on blues anyway. And then you will still see I make the skip here, even without getting any blue teleports. So yeah, I think the main important thing about this section is pathing on as many blues as possible by going in this even rows. And I'll show you some important skips you can do with the darts. Again, start on this row of tiles, and then path here, and then the 2 darts, they have the gap in the middle, and when you're on this timing, so you'll path this yellow here, assuming it's not highlighted, and then what happens the next tick is you can actually path to either of these blue tiles. Now the blue spawned and I didn't react to it in time. Ideally pathing to this tile would have been better, but you can go from this yellow to these blues. So basically you're pathing on a blue instead of a yellow here, and you'll see I am safe here, and then I path the blue the next tick. So this is something you can do on, it has to be this exact timing, but on this obstacle, as well as I believe this obstacle at the end. You can go on this tile and then that blue. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember if I have a clip for that. If I do, I will show it. You can also do it on, I believe you can do it every 6 tiles. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you do it like here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe somewhere here, something like that. Or maybe you can't do it this option. Every 6 tiles, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so you can do it here. Then you can do it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. But I guess like you're never really pathing there anyway. Or there's no like teleports there anyway. That's because the darts move 3 tiles per tick, and you move 2 tiles. So if you are, obviously the darts have to be in the right timing, but if you are 6 tiles ahead, and the darts are 6 tiles behind, you'll be at the same position relative to the dart. So really what's happening is the dart's true tile is on this blue tile, and after the next tick it goes 1, 2, 3, and it's checking these 2 tiles here. So visually it looks like you probably should get hit, but it's actually not checking that tile. So this is very important for pathing onto more blues. It's a very important thing. You just go about your day as usual. So again, you'll see I like walked a tile to get back onto the good like even row to path onto more blues rather than yellows, because yellows are bad, and then skipping over that yellow tile as the teleport disappears. Okay, so I actually do have a clip of doing the skip on the next row. So as you'll see, just go through as normal, clicking every 2 tiles, and then here I am on this yellow, and then I path to this blue, and that will be safe. So it's a very like on these 2, like you path onto a blue instead of pathing onto a yellow, and that just increases your odds of getting a skip pretty significantly. And then one more thing to mention is, I guess, at the corner, because you're here, you'll path to this row, and then you can go here, and you can dodge over the corner if the darts come out that tick. That's just another use of skipping over a corner, but it isn't necessary for this clip here. And also apologies for the fucking video being shit. I don't know how to fix that. But yeah. So that is like this obstacle. I think those are the main important things. It's path onto as many blues as you can. I think trying to learn think I mentioned before, like not having tile markers, I think made me so much better at this. Like rather than like focusing on clicking where the tiles tell me to, I think it's that like just removing all the visual clutter from tile markers is just, I feel like, so important. And just learning what the actual like things are, I think is very important. And that's another note is like if you are, so usually you would path to this one. If you're here and like this blue is active, obviously, make sure you path that. It's worth obviously pathing or by walking if you will go onto a blue. Yeah, I feel like that the visual clutter and it just kind of like you just stick to the tile markers. I feel like that is really detrimental to improving at this part of floor 4 north. So yeah, definitely watch, like this is probably one a lot of people struggle with. Just I've again timestamped every floor 4 north of my rank 1 6-hour, so just watch it a whole bunch of times and maybe see what you would do compared to what I do. I'm sure I make some not 100% optimal pathing, depending on how you can react or whatever what you're looking at. Yeah, and I guess maybe one other note is like how I like look at the darts. I think I kind of like I'm not like reactive. I'm a lot more proactive in terms of dodging the darts. So it's a lot easier and you'll lose a lot less time if you like dodge a dart the first tick available. Whereas if you wait till like the last tick available, sometimes you will have to walk a tile to dodge a dart. Or you have to walk onto a like a suboptimal. You might have to, like if you're coming up here and then dodging here the last tick, like maybe you're dodging onto a yellow rather than, I don't know, whatever. Yeah, dodging as early as possible. So I think I kind of like the darts happen every what, like 6 ticks or something. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I've kind of like you take a break, look up at the darts when they get fired. So you dodge a dart and then instantly you've dodged the dart, then look for like 1 tick at the next darts where they're going to be, and then plan out how to dodge that as soon as possible based on the scenario in front of you. So then going to this next option, I mean, obviously, I feel like this one's not too difficult for an advanced person, just run through. Then on this one, so if you have this timing, you do have to go to this tile. Again, if you go to this tile, your middle tile is here. The dart's true tile, I think, is here, and is checking that tile, which is why you get hit if you do that. Then for this obstacle, I think you don't want to be pathing over teleports. If you do make the 100, like the normal skip, like without losing any ticks, you will you have like 2 or 3 ticks leeway, so it's worth like walking a tick. And honestly, even if there is a blue teleport, you don't even need to get it. Like unless you're on like the super skip, going for the toad skip or whatever, you don't need to walk on any teleports. So honestly, it's just better to avoid them. Obviously, if you do miss the skip by like, or the perfect skip by like 2 ticks, you can still make the sword skip. But maybe you'll have to either path over teleports. Like these ones are pretty inactive. But getting a blue, if you are already on time and have a couple ticks leeway, won't save you anything. But getting a yellow will put you behind. It's only if you are like a couple ticks behind already, and you have to 2-shot this one rather than, I guess, 3-shot rather than 2-shot. I don't. Yeah, if you have to stop twice within here, you may have to go to a blue, but it depends on the darts and it depends on how far behind. So you'll see here, I literally just ignore that blue teleport and run over. Again, you can also skip over this corner here if the timing is for that. And then moving on to the next section. So I think there's a few important things to talk about. I guess I'll actually go back a little bit. the way I know if I've made the sword skip is based on this tile here. So if on this tick, I think it's this tick, if I'm on this tile, or I guess this missing tile, when the darts fire, you will make the skip. So you just go around. Usually, you can go instantly here, but waiting one tick is fine, and it's also more consistent because if the darts are on this row, you skip over the darts here, so you don't actually need to go instantly here. It won't save you any time. So yeah, you just go. Sorry for the footage, and then path onto, I think I missed a tile here, but you want to path onto this final row of blues, and you do have a tick to react. So if the blue is this one and you're standing here, you actually have a tick to react. It kind of looks scary because it's like, oh, the dart's like right in front of you. But it's the same timing as the floor 5, the first sword. It is basically you just have a tick to react. It's actually very easy, and it's honestly like safer rather than having to dodge the darts and be wary of the sword. Then coming out of here, don't path on the yellows if they will light up the tick you path them, but if there's already one, you can just skip it. Otherwise, go on the blue and finish. And then these tiles I have are all the tiles these blues can teleport you. So they have a 5-tile range, whereas these ones on the other side only have a 3-tile range. And so I'll cover maybe like the fastest floors later, but you need to get on like one of these 2 teleports onto one of these 2 tiles to get the absolute furthest. Whereas if you get this one, you get teleported into a corner and you lose a tick, or lose a tile, which loses your tick. So this is an example of where I don't make the full skip, so I am a few ticks behind. So you'll see I am 2 ticks behind the normal tile, so I am still within the flames. So depending on the dart RNG here, you can still get through. You'll see I walk onto this yellow tile here, even though I end up walking later. But if the dart was open in the middle, I would have been fine. And the timing here is this tile. So if you're on, it's actually this one, because this one you walk. But it's not when they shoot. It's actually when the first tick of motion. So it's like tick 1, tick 2, then tick 3 they shoot, then tick 4, 5, 6. I think they like do their cooldown animation or whatever. But if they shoot on, I guess, yeah. So if you're on this one, when they like start beginning to shoot, that's the timing I use. And then coming downstairs, it depends on where the darts come. So if on this tick, the darts are in the middle, you can, or the gap is in the middle, you can click to this middle tile here and then run forward. If the gap is here, you just click to this tile and that'll put you like the same amount of tiles. If the gap is here on this one, you want to click this tile and then click this tile here. So it'll put you like in front of the darts, but then you'll dodge it by walking. This means, I don't think I have a clip of this. You'll still make the skip, but you'll be on the first row of blue teleports rather than the second. So just do it like normal, and then you can skip the darts and yeah, run to the next row of teleports. Again, even if the teleport was, if you were like here, you could still click on, like if you're 1 tile behind, because it's the gap was here at the start, you could go on any of these tiles to skip the blues, and you have to go instantly because the sword starts moving right afterwards. And then just finish like normal. Alternatively, you can, if you are behind that, you can bring enchant runes and just go in and out of this obstacle. Like if you're like 3 or 4 ticks behind and you know you're not going to make the sword, or if you know you're not going to make the sword based on, like if you're on this tile when these start their animation, or maybe a couple tiles behind that, you can go in this obstacle. It'll give you like what, 150 agility XP or something by going in and out, or whatever it is. And then you'll be waiting for the sword anyway, so it's basically 150 free XP. But of course, you'll need to be on the normal spellbook, and you'll need the little lantern thing you get from Sep. But definitely necessary for going for a, I guess, 6-hour rec, I suppose, but maybe not too necessary for normal gameplay. This isn't actually an example of the very far row. Skip actually did have a clip. So you can see as the darts fire, I am the last possible tick. And then you can actually just click straight away to the final tile. You don't have to click twice. And then you path onto the first row of blues as so. And then just one note is that even if you are 1 tick behind the required tick, if you are not using the enchant portal, it's still worth running, because if you do get a tick 5 blue, you will teleport before the sword hits you. So it's definitely worth playing because you don't lose any time if you do get hit. But if you are bringing the enchant spell, I believe that's probably more efficient. So here's actually just an example of the using the enchant portal. So you see I'm pretty far behind here. So I will not be able to make it. So you manually pass to the tile and then cast the enchant and go in and out quickly. And this will give you some free agility XP that you would otherwise have just been standing still. You can see the sword will be coming back, and you will basically just get some free XP. All right, floor 5. This one is there's a few obstacles on floor 5 that are important to do optimally that will massively increase your chance of getting a 202 or a 204. Yeah, for the first obstacle, I guess just a small note, you can like wait 2 ticks and then click straight here. You don't have to click and then wait at the start. If you're multi-skilling, this will get you like an extra gem or arrow, whatever, like 4 instead of 3. And then go tick perfect through the flames here. If you aren't tick perfect, if you miss a tick, you can go to this tile here and not the one I have marked. And that way you'll still be able to make the blue rotation in time. And then just go to the blues, take the blues, la da da. Then I have 2 tile markers here, which are just kind of a reference to me of whether I'll walk or run to the last tile, but not very important to have. I was kind of just using it during multi-skilling. I felt like it was nice. And then coming down here, this is where the first important obstacle is. To get a 202 or fasten a 209 or whatever, you need to get through this obstacle quickly. You need a blue teleport, at least 1, and ideally 2. But depending on a few factors such as how much you have to walk or whatever. The biggest mistake people make is by starting wrong, and that is moving to this tile here. Now I have this tile marked, but I don't actually step on it. But that tile is probably the worst mistake the Hitbox Guide has made, because everybody copies the tile markers, they all have this tile marked, and they always start on this tile. Don't do that. Instead, what you want to do is run one tile ahead of it. No matter where the darts are, you will always be able to run to this bit here. So if the darts are here, if the middle's here, if the gap's here, you'll always be able to run to this row and dodge the darts. Except, well, there is one exception, and that is upstairs. If you, on the last teleport, if the first teleport is very long, such that you get to the last teleport and it spawns on you, and then that's a max teleport, you will be too far, or you'll be too far ahead that you'll have to wait here and then skip around the corner after a tick. I have an example of that after, but that's the only exception, and that's generally pretty obvious when that happens. But yeah, so starting here, going to this tile, and this tile, and then this tile is very important. This is because these blues here are insanely important at the start. That's because if you're on this tile, or this row where my true tile is, that the darts have just passed you, you now have, in the next tick, 6 options, 2 rows of blues where you can go to get a teleport. That literally, or I guess not literally because of overlap, almost doubles your chance of getting a teleport here. Because you can either go into this row, or you can go into this row. If you path this tile, then path this tile, the next tick you can only path here. And then I think the darts might get there in time, depending on how far ahead you are. So maybe you can't even get this row. So pathing one row ahead of this tile, then to where I am now, gives you the most options to get a blue teleport here. This is insanely important, because this will allow you to skip these yellows and skip those darts very easily. You see I go into a teleport here. Unfortunately, it times out, but that's okay. And then I don't get another blue teleport here. Then if you do get a teleport, you'll probably end up somewhere around here, and path over the yellows, path onto the blues, and then exit. So the way I know that if I'm fast enough is if the flames retract and I'm on this tile or further ahead, I will be able to, I'm like in the cycle to potentially get a 202. But another way to look at it is when these darts fire, you have to be on, and I've just screwed myself up. Let's get back there really quickly. When those darts fire, you have to be on the final row of teleports. That's this one here. So that means if you are on this blue tile here, and the darts are 1 tick from shooting, you always can path to whichever tile here is safe. It will be a yellow, so you will have to path onto a yellow. And then you'll make it. If you're on this row here, always path to one of these tiles here. And then because if you're on this tile, as the darts fire, you will be on time to make the 202. So I think watching a couple examples of this obstacle will be very important for kind of seeing how I do it. But really, I think my general pathing is, if I show the obstacle in full, is you go here, step on one of these blues, and then later on down the obstacle, if you get no blues, you will, so you'll path here, then the blues, then here, here, yellows, here, blues, yellows, here, yellows. So if you run all the way, you will be like on this row, but I think it's kind of hard to keep the even/odd thing here. Really, you just want to focus on trying to get a blue teleport here, and then dodging these yellows, and ideally trying to get a blue teleport here, or if not, skipping over kind of these yellows. I think you'll kind of get a feel for whether you need to go 2 tiles forward, because if you're, so you need to be here on the tile when the dart, on the tick where the darts shoot. So 2 tiles before that's here, then here, then here. So if you're on this tile, 3 before the darts shoot, and you move here, and then you go into the blue, then the blue, you'll be too late. You'll be one tile behind. So if you kind of, you should hopefully build intuition over this, over thousands of hours of it. Yeah, but if you're here, you want to path onto this yellow, then onto this gap, and then onto here. And that way you'll be exactly the minimum tile needed to get the skip. So I think that's a very important bit. So make sure you start on the right tile so you can get way more starting blue teleports here. That makes it very easy. If you can get a blue teleport here, you'll skip the darts, easy days. If you don't get a blue teleport here, so you have to skip these yellows and then work through here. And then this final row, again, is very important. Always step there when the darts shoot. That's the timing I use. And then yeah, if you can kind of path on this safe tile onto the blue, and then onto here. So if you're here and there's 4 ticks left, you can path here, blue, and then here. And that will be a lot more safe because you won't step on any yellows. But only do that if the darts are 4 ticks away from shooting rather than 3, because if they're 3, you will miss the chance to get a 2 or 2. It's better to path onto yellow and it teleport you back rather than guaranteed miss the skip anyway. So here's an example of when you actually get that one rotation where you're too quick. So here you get like a very far teleport from the blue, and then you spawn on the blue and get a far teleport. And then you'll see when you come downstairs, the darts will have a bad timing, so you just go around to the corner and then skip over it. That's kind of just fine anyway, because you're already like super far ahead. So you'll see it's still very easy to get the skip in time to get the 202 rotation. Here's another example of this obstacle. So you see again going to the same row, and on the far row you can still make it. Unfortunately no blue. Lose a tick, tile dodge a yellow, but then thankfully get the blue, and then spawn on the final row of yellows, which puts me just in time to reach the rotation for the 202.4. So here's actually a really good example of good play, but still not making the skip. So you'll see here, I get the, I believe, minimum teleport. And so this puts me on like the worst possible tick going in. It's only about, I think, 2, maybe 3 ticks behind the best possible, but that's fine. I think 3. And then what happens here is I have to walk a tile to get the blue teleport. I get a minimum teleport, and even though I play perfectly by dodging and moving 2 tiles per tick, I still am 1 tile off the final row, which is unfortunate, but it happens. And the one thing to point out is pathing under this tile is really good in this scenario, because when the darts come out, it comes out, so these darts move 4 tiles per tick, but because they come out of the statue, they move an extra tile, the first tile, or the first tick. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so they'll be on this row, meaning they check 1 tile ahead, which is this row. So by pathing onto the row with the blue on it, you'll be right in front of where the darts are checking, but still safe. And now that means you can path onto the blue and then the next tick dodge the darts very easily by just walking diagonally. And even though you do walk a tile, it doesn't matter because you'll be definitely in time for the next rotation. So picking it back up from here, so it's the same timing. So this is perfectly on time to make this skip. So you'll path there just into the flames as they shoot, so you'll be safe. This is the timing for the 202. If you get the ultra mega timing, you can get, I think, onto is it this blue here? Yeah, you can get onto this blue here. I think it's what? 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that 5 tiles ahead? You need to be 1, 2, 3. You need to be like 5 tiles ahead of this or something. I think you definitely need like 2 blue teleports to get that, and that will allow you to get on time for a sub to a 2.4 floor 5. You can get up to a 2 minutes and 1 tick, and you'll need that rotation to do it. But that's obviously very rare, but I guess a good thing to look out for if you do want that sub to a 2.4. I probably won't explain this obstacle too much. I think this one's pretty easy. It's more coming out of the first obstacle, but just do it correctly. And then I think if I do have a clip of the super mega skip, I will share, but it's basically this, except you'll be like 2 or 3 ticks ahead of this one, so you'll be here and then you just skip over the corner and then get this teleport on like the first or second tick. So you're like 2 ticks or 2 or 3 ticks ahead of the normal one, and then hopefully you get a maximum blue teleport here. So here's actually a clip of the super ultra mega skip, or whatever the hell you want to call it. I think I do get a 2 minutes 1 tick in this clip, but I'm not entirely sure. I'll show a full one of that later. But so you'll see, I believe I get a teleport here, and then I should get another teleport here. And then I I skip over the dart onto this tile here. Which means that when the dart fires, I am 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiles ahead of the 2 minutes, or like the usual skip. And so you'll see that will put you in time to get to this tile here, which again you can see is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiles ahead of the normal skip. And then coming through is a little weird. I think you go right to here, and then you come out, and you will be on a similar rotation to the regular good rotation, I guess, for this obstacle. So you have to wait here, unfortunately, which means you'll be able to get this teleport on tick 2 rather than tick 4, I believe. So you'll be 2 ticks ahead. And then, yeah, hopefully you get good teleports here and good RNG later on. So then coming down, I will go over this next obstacle. This is the next important one. So I think the first obstacle on the second floor and then the first obstacle on the third floor, being this one, are the most important parts. I think the last obstacle on floor 5 is difficult, but it's pretty consistent because there's no teleports. And so once you are a bit further than a beginner / intermediate, that obstacle should pose no issues. Yeah, so for this one, basically what you want to do is, let me just dodge the lightning, and then it's important you step on this tile here, just ahead of these blues. It will kind of depend on whether you have to go up one of the even lines or the odd line, and then on what yellows are here, and then where the darts are. But if you don't get a teleport on this blue, no matter what, you want to step on this tile here. That's because you will then skip over this yellow tile, these yellow ones, and then walk onto these blue ones. And this blue teleport line here is extremely important, because if you get these blue teleports, you skip these yellow teleports, and most of the time, and maybe even all the time, because you go 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, all the time you skip these blue teleports. And these blue teleports at the end, or you might think, oh, it's a blue teleport, it's good. But this can actually fuck you up pretty hard. Because if you get teleported onto the lightning, you only have 1 tick of like protection, whereas usually for darts you have 2 ticks of protection, which is really annoying because if you are pathing ahead and you accidentally get hit by a blue and you've already clicked forward, you can't do anything about it. You just better hope that you haven't pathed onto a lightning and the dart doesn't hit you. Yeah, so you always want to be pathing on this blue, on this line of blues. You know, I probably could have gone for this teleport here, but that's fine. And you path here, and then on to these blues. And then I get fucking cancer video. And then an important skip here is skipping over this corner. But otherwise, if there's no darts, you can skip here. So here's an example of actually getting a teleport on the last row. So see, I just do this floor as normal. And I path on a teleport. I've already clicked ahead, and then the lightning stuns me. So you'll see there's nothing you can kind of do about that. And so that's why, honestly, these teleports are kind of dangerous. So yeah. Another important thing about that line of blues, there's a timing with the darts where you can actually get to it. So here you can see the darts are coming down, but you can actually path over the blue and skip over the darts with that timing. And that will allow you here to get onto the perfect timing for the 202. So that I think that's another very important thing, yeah, about that row, is that timing. You skip over the darts, you skip over the yellows, and then the bad set of blues, and it puts you, in depending on where you are, of course, in time to get tick perfect through the blues. So here's another example of that obstacle. So you can see here, I kind of like path onto the lightning, just because it's down. So that's always something you can think about, but not necessary. And then obviously getting a teleport is very good here. And here's a third example of this obstacle without any teleports. And then finally, for the final obstacle here, there's kind of 3 ways you do it. So either that's like the left side fires, or the right side fires and you one-shot it, or the right side fires and you two-shot it. So that will give you a 202.4, a 209 for the left one, 202.4 for the right. If you one-shot it, and about a 204, 205 if you two-shot the right ones. So 202 will look like this. So you can path to this tile and then skip over any darts here. So it doesn't matter, for a 202, it doesn't matter where the darts are, because you can skip over it here from this corner. So again, another use of the corner. And if you are exactly on this row, you can path 10 tiles and one-shot this obstacle perfectly. And so that's how you get a 202. I feel like this should be simple to most people, but there have been people who didn't know about this. But I think the dart timing is pretty important to know. Just continue to one-shot the rest of the whole floor as so. And then the final obstacle, it's honestly really easy to do this one. You don't even have to dodge the final darts. There's actually one kind of important timing that I don't think I knew during my course of 200 mil that Azula has thankfully pointed out, and that's to do with the getting a 202.4. So you can see here he gets a teleport, and then he ends on this tile here when the darts are about to fire. So what I think I probably would have done, or most people would have done, is just to click this tile here, and then run forward. This will put you 1 tick behind 202.4. You end up getting like 202.8 or whatever, based on the darts being on this tick. But actually what you can do is you can path diagonally. That puts you one tick further ahead. And then that gives you a 1 in 3 chance of being able to get a 202.4. So you need to have the dart gap to be on the left, which is 1 in 3 chance. And this will allow you to just path straight to the purple tile. And then you actually don't need to, I think I said in the previous clip, you need to be exactly on the tile. You actually don't, you can be 1 tile back. So because there's 5 flames that 2 tiles long each, that's 10 tiles. But because the last statue fires instead of this one, it's actually 1 less tile, so you need 9 tiles. So you don't have to be starting on this row here. You can actually still start on this row here and make it. But yeah, so that's a pretty important way to save a little bit of extra time. So thank you, Azula, for that one. So something really interesting Azula actually literally just discovered right before I was about to upload this, that something interesting happens with the darts at the start here. So when you can see they usually move 4 tiles per tick, and so that means they check 3 tiles behind them. At the end here, they actually only move 3 tiles. Now, because of the fact that when darts exit the statue, they move 1 extra tile for the first tick, and they don't adjust which tiles they check. That allows you to skip over the darts. So you would expect here that they might actually check still 3 tiles behind. But you can see they actually don't. So I can walk here on that tick. Well, not that one. So they don't actually check 3 tiles behind. So they're actually adjusting how much they check when they slow down, but not when they shoot out faster at the start, which is really interesting. And so what that actually means is you don't actually need the good darts to get the skip, to get the 202 when you're 1 tile behind. So you will always be able to get it here because you can path into the darts, or what looks like is into the darts, and you will be fine. So that actually means you can either be on this tile or this tile, because if you're this tile, you can skip around the corner, or you can also just move to this tile here, but also this one, which means if you skip around here, so if you're skipping the darts over on this tick, you will be 1 tick behind. But it means if you're on this row, you'll be fine. Or if you are here and then you dodge the darts here, like that. Obviously you can't dodge them to here because your middle tile will path over there. But if your middle tile is here and you go here, that brings you here, and you'll always be able to make the 202, whether you end on, or whether you are on this tile or on this tile, which is actually a pretty insane discovery, I think. And I'm not sure how many people knew about that, but I certainly didn't. And Azula just said he found out about that, so that's very interesting. But yeah, here's an example of a like 205, 206. So here I get slightly into the first flames, and then as long as you can one-shot these flames here, you can go straight through. You'll be able to get into the final obstacle a couple ticks. And then you can skip over the corner there. One thing to note is if you are a little bit further ahead, say you're on, I think this tile. Yeah, if you're 1 tick further ahead, and the darts are coming down the left and the right, you can actually path from this tile to this tile, in like an L, and you'll be safe here, and that will put you in a tick further into the flames. So you'll be able to make like this row here, which is the furthest row you can, rather than being stuck on this one. I'm not sure if I have a clue of that specifically, because it's pretty rare, because it's kind of an exact timing, but useful to know that you can dodge onto this row. And here's a clip of Azula doing what I just mentioned before, pathing to the middle at the end to save a tick. So you can see paths here to the middle, and we'll get the furthest into the flames. So that means even when you are on the best rotation for a 204, 205, no matter the data RNG, you'll always be able to make the fastest time possible. And finally, here's what a regular 209/209.6 looks like. You'll get on this, or even a couple ticks behind. It doesn't matter, but you won't be able to make it through the flames in one shot. You will be able to get through this flame. Then there's a little bit of leeway here, since you wait, but you won't be able to one-shot it from this side. And then dodge the flames by walking. I have kind of those, or that one tile marked, and that other one there. And then depending on like if the dart here is I guess just has a note you want to be in the middle tile here, that makes it easier to dodge, because you know, dodge here or here very easily. But if the darts are not in the middle and you path straight forward, I believe you save a tick and get 209. Yeah, so I think hopefully overall I've covered a lot of flaws, or a lot of the key important bits about the flaws. I think there's probably some like minor like pathing optimizations that there's probably too many to count, or probably forgotten by now because I'm fucking old as shit. I haven't done agility in, God, has it been over a year? It might have been over a year now. But I think a lot of it's trial and error, right? A lot of it's trying to find what skips work and what doesn't. I think for like you, or in terms of like, I don't know, like what like cues you use to know when you can like make a skip or not, or path to wherever, etc. I think is very important, because the skill is so long. Like saving 5 ticks per hour over 2,000 hours, you know, that's what, fucking 10,000 ticks. That's an hour and 40 minutes. So if you can, like, if you can spend an hour and 40 minutes just watching videos to save 5 ticks, and that's like 1 tick every 2 laps. 1 tick every 2 laps will save you almost 2 hours over the course of the skill. So it's like, it's worth trying to get better. And so I think, you know, push the limits, like, because a lot of it's pretty consistent. Like, there's pretty, you'll face the same like pathing, or like obstacle like timings a lot. So just getting used to the most common ones, and trying to push. Yeah, I think watching, I think the thing that helped me most is watching other people play, because there's things that I didn't think about. It's like, you know, I'd push my own, or to find as many of the skips myself as I could, but then it's like I watch other people and they do some certain things differently. So I think like the 6-hour footage I have is very good. There are a few things that are better than what I do that I didn't know about until now, although very minor, and I have mentioned them before. But yeah, in general, I think just like I've timestamped the entire video. If you're struggling with a particular obstacle, like maybe floor 4 north, you can't get very well, or whatever, just go to the video. There's like 30 fucking options for it, and just watch them and see how the I do the pathing. Or I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of other 6-hour footage, although I don't know if any's timestamped. But yeah, I think also doing your own VOD review, just recording some footage and then like looking back and going, oh, in hindsight, I could have pathed here, yada, yada, yada. I think that's a pretty good way to learn as well. And yeah, I think in terms of getting better, I think I'm more than happy to help people by like VOD reviewing or whatever. If you are serious about getting better and you are kind of already at an advanced stage, so if you can already get like 105, 106, 107k an hour, and you want to go, okay, well, I want to try and get 108, 109, start pushing like 645 to 655k plus 6 hours, maybe even 660k. I'm more than happy to help out. If you're not getting more than 105k an hour, I think definitely practice and watching the Hebox guides or just examples will be more helpful, because you're probably just doing things incorrectly at that point. But yeah, and I think after this, I would just share a few niche things, such as skips that are very uncommon but cool to know about. Now I'm going to show a 119.2 floor 4. So this is the fastest possible floor 4 if you don't make the sword skip or the toad skip, I guess. And this is very rare, but it's pretty cool, so I thought I would share it. And so in order to get this time, you need like 5 perfect things to happen. So the first one is that for this blue teleport here, both the blue you stand on, it spawns under you, and it teleports you the max distance. So it's 1 in 3 for the blue to spawn under you, because there's 3 blues, and it's 1 in 3 for the teleport to be max distance. Then you need the gap in the darts to be the right row here. So again, that's 1 in 3. Then you'll always be able to path onto the yellow, and you will make the blue teleport just before it goes down. So this is a 2 in 3 chance, because you cannot get the time if you get the northmost blue, because that will teleport you in like next to like into an object or whatever. So it's 2 and 3 that the teleport is either the middle or the south one. And then it's 1 in 5 that you get the furthest teleport to here. So if you get the north spawn, you'll go here, and then you'll path around to here. Whereas here, you'll get here, and then you will run the last 2 tiles. So overall, it's 1 in 3 by 1 in 3 by 1 in 3 by 1 in 5 by 2 and 3. That ends up at 1 in 202.5 or 2 in 405. So quite rare to get this. And this can happen on any time you get a normal sword skip. So assume that happens, I don't know, 70% of the time you get it without losing ticks, or maybe even 80 to be honest. I don't know, it makes it what? 405 2 times 2, because it's 2 floors, divided by 0.8. So that makes it about 1 in 6 million XP, if I haven't just fucked up the maths there, which is 2 in 405 by 1 in 2 to get floor 4 north, divided by 0.8 in order to get a skip without losing ticks. So even if you're very good at floor 4 north, it's still 6 mil XP is quite rare. So now I'm going to show a sword skip, or a toad skip, I guess. This is extremely rare. It's probably more than 200 mil XP on rate. Most people will never get one, including myself, which is quite unfortunate. So you see he gets a very strong teleport into another very strong teleport, and then gets very far into the flames. You can get up to what, 8 tiles ahead of where you usually would. It's 4 ticks, because it would be 5, but because these ones fire at the end of the rotation, you have to stand at the bottom here rather than on this tile. So that loses you, sort of loses you 2 tiles. So this, I believe, was the furthest you get ahead. And then do this as normal. If you get a teleport here, the amount of teleports you get here depends on how far you get into the flames, plus the darts, etc. But yeah. And then coming down here, you will know if you're on time. I believe I think the sort of cue is that the sword is visible like by the time you get to the tile that is marked here. And then so you will most of the time on the perfect exact tick, you'll path onto these blues on tick 5. But I believe that's a tick. He just got a tick 5 teleport there. So most of the time you will just run straight through, and that will actually, if you're on the first tick available, you actually, most of the time, unless you get a tick 5 blue, will just run straight through, and you have to path to this row of blues here, and then you just run, and you'll just outpace the sword. But if you get a tick 5 teleport, you can path to this one, and that's fine. And sometimes I've seen that happen. But here he gets extra lucky. He gets the teleport, and then skips around, and gets a 116.2. And there's a few ways you can save ticks here. One, if he would have gotten either of these 2 teleports, he would have saved a tick here. So he got the furthest teleport, but on the wrong location. So that's 1 tick. I believe he also missed a tick stepping by not stepping on the yellow here. So here, if he had stepped on the yellow and on the blue, he would have saved 1 tick. And then he could have saved at least 1 tick before coming down. Possibly even 2, I'm not sure. So you can definitely get a 114.4 at least. So you definitely save at least 3 ticks, potentially even 4. And I'm not sure about anything longer than that. So yeah, that's the toad skip. Another fun fact is a sep bug that I believe doesn't exist anymore, but definitely used to. There used to be a tile on floor 4, just here. That was, I don't know, it's like out of bounds or something. But what happened when you path into it, it would just reset the floor. Or reset all the obstacles. Your time wouldn't reset or anything. But yeah, that was an interesting bug. I believe Rune found that. And I believe it's been fixed now, but I'll correct if it's still available. Here's another interesting one. This is a sub 202.4 floor 5. This is very rare. I'm not sure how much XP-ish on average it should be. But it's definitely cool. You can't get below, so the fastest you can get is a 2 minutes and 1 tick. It's not possible to get faster than that. As far as I'm aware, I believe you were like 4 ticks off getting to the next rotation or something. But so here you get the ultra mega skip, and then you get lucky on the teleports afterwards. Maybe fletching that wasn't a great idea in case I stalled or anything, but yeah, so you wait a little bit, and I probably get a good teleport here. Looks max. And then you get I believe I got a max teleport here. I believe the max teleport is where that tile is there. I skip over the darts. Get a good teleport there, and I believe that one is still a teleport. And then you make it a couple ticks in here. So this might not be 2 minutes 1 tick, but you can make it, I think, up to 3 ticks into that flames, or maybe it's just 1 or 2. I'm not exactly sure. Okay, so you can make it 2 ticks because you can definitely get to this one at the end. And so I did decide to build the bridge, but that one would be at 2 minutes 1.2. And if you get to the final row in the flames there, it would be a 2 minutes and 1 tick. But to get any further, you have to because you can't get any further into this flames here, to get any faster than 2 minutes 1 tick, you would have to get into the start of the rotation of this one. And then there's some like downstream effect on the darts or the whatever you get. The darts in the first flames. And so I believe in here I lost 6 tiles behind perfect, which would put you tick perfect for left side flames, 1 rotation faster than normal. You need to get 6 tiles ahead of this to get to the right flame to 1-shot, so I can get sub 2. So even if I was like exactly tick perfect here and got max teleports everywhere, you would still need to be 6 tiles ahead or 3 ticks further ahead to get anything. So unless I've miscounted, I mean, this is very rare, so there's very very little data, but from what I can tell, sub 2 isn't possible. And even getting sub 2 or 2.4 requires extraordinary RNG. I believe you need 2 teleports. I'm pretty sure you need you get the ultra mega skip and then at least 2 teleports, then good darts and shit coming down here at the end of the other obstacle. So yeah. And so here I'm going to play mostly a full recording of a 5 minutes 14.4. So this was my PB during the course of 200 mil agility. The fastest time you can get without a toad skip or without a sub 2 or 2.445 is 1 tick quicker, which is 513.8. This is extremely rare and probably much rarer than 200 mil to get that. Even 514.4 is probably more rare. But yes, there was one chance I had of getting a sub 513.8, so it would have been 513.2. I chanced getting a sub 202.4 floor 5. Unfortunately, the final teleport I had was 1 tick too or 1 tile too short. I needed a 6 tile teleport instead of a 5 tile, which I did get. Although I did get the 1 in 3 RNG for the bad darts further down anyway, so I would have lost it to that even if I did get the good telly. So two small things that unfortunately would have bricked me, but that would have been insane to get such a time non-pre-started. I think generally over the course of 200 mil agility, I think 515/515.6 is probably a time you might want to be aiming for. And that's a tick perfect floor 1, 2, 3, and then a 202.4 floor 5. And for floor 4, it's like a 121 or below. So the approximate maths on that is so what, 1 in 4 times 1 in 4 times, I mean, what's the chance of 51 seconds on floor 3 east? There's a pretty good chance of getting 51 seconds on floor 3 east, but just conservative, I'm just going to go 2, and then 2, and then let's say 1 in 5. So it's maybe, depending on how good you are, I think obviously it takes time to learn, but I think getting the perfect rotation of floors, say, is roughly, is that 5 million XP? Because it's 1 in 64 to get all the right floors. It's 4 times 4 times 2 times 2 times 1. And if it's 1 in 5 to get a 202.4 floor 5, that's 320. I want to say it might even be less than 5 million XP depending on how good you are at floor 4 north. And so if the to get a 119.2 floor 4 on top of all of that, even if it's like 3.5 mil XP or something that I just calculated, it's 800 mil XP to get a 513.8. So definitely extremely rare to get a 119.2 on top of tick perfect everywhere else. But 514.4 is a lot more common because you can get that by being one tick behind, which is twice as common because there are 2 tiles out of 5 teleports that can get you that can get you a 119.8. But because you can also get tick perfect on a floor 5, on a tick 5 telly. So there's like 2 ways that that can happen. So here, this is just a typical 202.4. I was definitely very nervous getting this. I believe I was live streaming. I think I had the time twice, and I think one time I was live streaming. Maybe the other one I was as well. I'm not 100% sure. But during the last obstacle, which you should basically never fail, or you should never fail, it's like, because it's 100% consistent with because there's no teleports. My hand was just so sweaty, and I was so concerned I was going to fuck something up. So here you can see I pathed in front of that blue, which is definitely a good blue, and then get the typical 202.4 floor 5. So definitely very happy to get a 514.4 PB. I guess actually there is a 1 in 3 chance that your floor 2 can be a tick slower as well if you do get the bad darts at the end. 119.8 floor 4, so I lost 1 tick there. Damn, new personal best. So this was the first time I got it, I suppose. And then in terms of like absolute perfect, I think if you can save 3 ticks off the 202.4, so you get a 2 minutes and 1 tick, and then for floor 4, if you get a toad skip and you get a 113.2, that will be 6 seconds quicker plus 1.8 seconds quicker. So that will give you, or then perfect, so that will give you a 5 minutes 6, I believe. So 513.8 minus 1.8, so 512 minus 6 seconds would be, yeah, 5 minutes and 6, which would be absolutely absurd. That would be trillions of XP, probably, on rate. So that is the end of my Sepulchre ramble / guide, kind of. This has been fun to make. I think I've never done anything close or remotely close to video editing. You know, I use one single transition the whole time, and half of them probably don't even line up well. But I mean, it's just like you know, compiling clips and like getting them, finding them, and putting them together and shit in a good order and commentating over. It's all been, I don't know, it's all been fun. You know, I'm just chilling on ZMI right now, so yeah, but I do hope it's been helpful. If there is anything that I have not explained fully, or you have questions or feedback or comments or yeah, anything I've missed, please do let me know. I will update the description or add a pinned comment, etc., or something if necessary. And again, if you do, if you would like any help, please do record some footage. Reach out. Of course, if you are already proficient in that, it's not beginner / intermediate things that you do need help with. Yeah, I'd also like to thank Turnt and Azula for helping watch the draft of the guide, providing some clips as well, and Finchy as well for some clips. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.